we've got your Raiders covered.
Knock on wood if you're with me.
This is Silver and Black Tonight on CBS Sports Radio 1140. And now, here's your host, Scott Gobranson.
Welcome to the first inaugural Silver and Black Tonight here on CBS Sports Radio 1140 in Las Vegas, future home of the Raiders, as we expand our coverage and increase our commitment to covering our hometown team, the soon-to-be Las Vegas Raiders. Welcome, everybody. You know us from Sundays on Silver and Black today from 8 to 10 a.m. Now we're invading your prime time with another show dedicated to all things Raider Nation. I'm your host, Scott Gobranson, joined by Chaz Osborne. And on Tuesday nights, we will break down the week that was in Raiders football, focusing on analyzing, exploring, and debating the Raiders' last game and where they are given this point in the season. We'll include insightful looks at key plays and moments of the game, hear from Raiders players and coaches, be joined by A-list guests, and take your phone calls at 702-257-1140. That's 702-257-1140. Don't be shy. Be that guy.
Yeah.
Call in or gal. Breaking news tonight, at least in the last few hours, for the Raiders. No trades at the trade deadline, but they did sign, I should say re-sign, linebacker Brandon Marshall, of course, was cut right before this beginning of the season. Also, journeyman linebacker Will Compton passed a physical. He's not been signed by the team yet, but he's been out there on Twitter talking a lot about it. So it looks like Will Compton, if his physical goes well, might end up being a Raider as well to help that thin linebacker core. The team, in a corresponding move, released linebacker Justin Phillips. So we say goodbye to Justin Phillips. But as they say, once a Raider, always a Raider. Okay, on to this week. The Raiders went to Houston with a 500 record at 3-3 on the season, and at the very end of their 49-day road trip that took them from Oakland to Minneapolis to Indianapolis to London, back to Green Bay, and finally to the Lone Star State, a win against the Texans on the road would perhaps solidify the Raiders as an early wildcard playoff contender. A loss, especially in the AFC, would make their uphill climb towards the playoffs that more difficult. The day started great for the Raiders, who again, thanks to the running of Josh Jacobs and the passing of Derek Carr, got off to a fast start. Scoreless in the first quarter, with the Raiders facing 3rd and 6 from their own 35-yard line, Derek Carr finds rookie Hunter Renfrow for 65 yards and pay dirt.
Carr, good protection, and he completes it, and staying at his feet is Renfrow! Hunter Renfrow! All the way! 65 yards! His first NFL touchdown!
The Fro with his first touchdown after the Texans answered right back with their own 6-play, 75-yard drive in just over 2 minutes, as Deshaun Watson found Duke Johnson from 12 yards out to tie the game at 7, after an Oakland 3-and-out, followed by a nice Raiders defensive stand. The Raiders, after the ensuing punt, marched right back down the NRG Stadium field with a 4-minute and 43-second drive where Derek Carr found the baller, Darren Waller, to take a 14-7 lead.
Oh, Carr keeps it. There's Waller. Waller angling for the end zone. Lunges, and he's in. Touchdown, Raiders.
All right. Then, after both teams traded possessions, but didn't score, the Texans climbed within 4 points of the Raiders with 1:07 remaining in the first half, with the Raiders clinging to a 14-10 lead. The second half started with Houston orchestrating a 9-play drive, which ended with a Fairbairn 53-yard field goal, cutting the Raiders' lead to 3 at 14-13. The Raiders wasted no time in answering the Texans, opening the second half drive with an impressive one of their own after finding speedy wideout Tyrell Williams. Remember him, Chaz? Tyrell Williams, he's back early in the drive for a 23-yard pass. Carr and the Raiders faced a 3rd and 7 from the Houston 46 when number 4 found number 16 again.
Carr just gets it off. Pressure coming from Merciless. Carr throws on the run. Wide open Williams. Williams at the 10. He'll walk it in. Touchdown Raiders. Welcome back, Tyrell Williams.
Indeed, welcome back. The long touchdown pass to bump their lead to 8 points at 21-13 with 8:02 left in the third. It would unfortunately be Oakland's last touchdown on the day. The Texans then constructed an 8-minute, 15-play drive over 77 yards when Watson found tight end Darren Fells in the end zone to again pull Houston within 1 at 21-20. The Raiders' first of just 3 possessions in the second half started the fourth quarter and saw the Raiders moved the ball well for 4 minutes, culminating in a 44-yard Daniel Carlson field goal, making it 24-20 Raiders. On the first play of the next Texans drive, a key play in my mind in the game, Watson sailed a pass wide of his receiver on first down, but the Texans benefited from a Max Crosby late hit on the quarterback and the 15-yard penalty, giving Houston improved field position. 9 plays later, Watson found Fells again with the back-breaking touchdown to put Houston ahead for the first time on the day and for good.
Watson, and he goes down. No, he stays on his feet, throws on the run, touchdown! Unbelievable! Watson, a magician!
All right, so there you have it. The Raiders finished the day, and thank you to CBS Sports for the highlights, the audio you heard there. That's how the game would end as the Raiders finished the road trip 2-3, heading back to Oakland to face the Lions on Sunday. The number is the Raiders finished the day with 378 yards on offense, squandering Derek Carr's first 3-touchdown game of 2019 and sparkling performances by Tyrell Williams, who finished the day with 3 catches for 91 yards and a touchdown. And Hunter Renfrow having his breakout game with 4 catches, 88 yards, and 1 score. Ultimately, the Raiders were sabotaged by 10 penalties for 100 yards, and in the case, a bit of the case of the drops, at least, Chaz, right? A little bit. Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson also finished the day with 3 passing touchdowns, getting the win going 27-39 for 279. And Houston wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins also torched the Oakland defense, which will be a hot topic during this show, the defense, grabbing 11 catches for 109 yards. Darren Fells added 6 snags for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns, including the game winner. So there you have it. You're up to speed. I'm sure most of you watched the game, but nonetheless, that's where we're at. And Chaz, so this game, I mean, you look at this game, so many missed opportunities, right? And that's the thing. I don't know about you. You and I went back and forth a little bit on this.
Yep.
There's no question. First of all, let me reintroduce Chaz. Chaz Osborne, my co-host. How you doing tonight, man?
Oh, man, great.
We're in here at night.
I'm loving the Tuesday night.
You like it?
This is great action.
You're a night owl.
I'm a night
anyway,
owl,
right?
so
it works out good. Okay, so, but Chaz, with this game, okay, we're looking at it and we're saying, okay, the Raiders, you look at the numbers on offense especially,
right.
Had a great day on offense. Derek Carr had a very good game. There's no questioning that. But it just came down to, at the end, for them, the Texans got one more scoring drive than the Raiders.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Basically, they're both pretty similar. We talked about it on Sunday's show, evenly matched teams. And then you mentioned it. It was just basically the whole game was just about missed opportunities. I've got a whole page of things here we could talk about, all the different missed opportunities. And it just came down to execution at the end. And Houston executed, and the Raiders didn't on offense and defense. And that was it. It was a hard-fought game on both sides. It just came down to a couple of things at the end, and the ball just fell Houston's way.
Well, and it seems to me, Chaz, I mean, I look at this game, and these two teams, they're clearly, I think the Houston defense a little bit better than the Raiders.
Yeah.
And they have some more tools on offense. But overall, it was a pretty evenly matched game, like you said. I mean, this was not like the Raiders losing and they scored points late and it was garbage time. I mean, it was a competitive game throughout.
Right. No, the Raiders, I love the Raiders' run defense. They played really good run defense. And here was all the talk was about Houston Texans' run defense. And Josh Jacobs got off. He started the game strong right out of the gate, 5 yards of carry in the first half. And I thought in the beginning, Carr, he was forcing the ball to Waller a bit. We talked to it. He was forcing it to him early on. Waller ultimately 8 targets, but only 2 catches. And, the 1 8-yard touchdown was great. But ultimately, just frustrating because, you see him working so hard and having it come down to that at the end, just one play, one bounce of the ball one way or the other. Could have gone either way.
Well, and Chaz, John Gruden in the postgame press conference talked about this. This is clip number 8. We're going to play this. So here's what he talked about when we talk about missed offensive opportunities.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought we had some chances. We're playing a team that plays 100% man-to-man, really. I mean, they're not screwing around. They're playing in your grill, man-to-man. I wouldn't say 100%, but a high percentage. And with that being said, you got to take some shots, and you got to try to win those 50-50 balls.
Yeah, so there you go. Coach John Gruden talking about that and winning 50-50 balls, right? That was huge on the day. And Tyrell Williams, as well as he did have some key drops as well.
Yeah, he had a couple of those David Tyree type of catches from the Super Bowl where it was just kind of up right?
Up on his helmet?
Kind of on his helmet. He could have brought it in, and he didn't. And that was the difference. I know they're giving Gary Conley a little bit of credit for that last play, kind of breaking up the ball, but But Tyrell Williams said it in his interview after. He took credit for it. He had both hands on the ball, and he should have came down with it. And, that might have been the difference. We've gone over and over what was the difference in the game. And there was just so many moments. And you could have pointed to a dozen. What could have happened in that game and didn't.
Well, and Chaz, I think the one thing, too, and we're going to play this is clip number 6. And this is one thing, too, is don't forget Deshaun Watson. I talked about him on our Sunday show. I like the kid a lot. I think he's one of those the best young quarterbacks. There's no question.
Absolutely.
And here's what Gruden had to say about having to play against Deshaun Watson.
What do you want me to say? I mean, you see Michael Jordan, you see, some of the great athletic plays in any sport. You got to tip your hat to the guy. I mean, we had him 3 times. And then he makes an unbelievable throw, and the kid makes a great catch. So it's a lot of unscripted offense that they're really good at, and it makes no excuses for us losing a football game. We have to get off the field. When you have 100 yards in penalties and give up 30 first downs, it's going to be tough to win against a playoff team.
And he said the key word there, unscripted. You practice and you prepare all week for a certain thing of a team, and then here's Watson just going right off the script and doing things that we weren't prepared for, and obviously we just couldn't defend it.
No, and again, this game, and we're going to talk more about it, too, after we get past the next break, but this game ends that long road trip, and the last thing we want to play here from Coach Gruden is him talking about this long trip. Number 5, thank
Quarterback. Couldn't catch him.
Oh, sorry.
Made a lot of plays.
Pardon me. That's my bad. Hey, first show, right? We are on number 8, number 7. Thank you.
This has been the most ridiculous road trip I've ever been on. I'm going to become a travel agent after this trip. I know a lot about moving around, flying around in different hotels now.
Yeah. All right, so he has now become Travelocity.
Listen, one curious thing that I noticed during my time with the Lakers, and every team, in the NBA kind of has a 5-game road trip at some point during the season, right? But the Lakers and the Clippers, they have a 2.5 week thing for the Grammys. They have to be away from the Staples Center. And the same thing with the San Antonio Spurs. They have that long rodeo road trip. And, one thing I noticed when teams came back, and I traveled with the team for the first couple of years, and you get back and you think, okay, great, we got a home game now, you get comfortable. And more often than not, you would lose that first game back from a long road trip. And I don't know if it was just, you're taking that deep sigh, you're comfortable. And, this is pretty unprecedented for an NFL team to be gone for 6 weeks. You just don't hear that. But I'm hoping that the Raiders don't fall into that trap of maybe coming home feeling a little bit too comfortable and not taking this game seriously next week.
Absolutely, Chaz. You're absolutely right. All right. Well, that concludes the opening of this show. That's right. The first ever Silver and Black Tonight here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. We're going to step aside. When we come back, we'll delve deeper into the numbers from this game. We can also take your call, 702-457-1140, 702-457-1140. You're listening to the Silver and Black Tonight here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
CBS Sports Radio. When you need inside info on your Raiders, you'll find it here. This is Silver and Black Tonight on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the Silver and Black Tonight here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. That's right. Sunday mornings and Tuesday nights.
Yes.
We are back, and we are talking Raider football. Of course, we're talking about the loss to the Texans. Of course, that's the point of conversation as we review one last time what happened to the Raiders this week as they drop to 3-4, which is not bad to me after that road trip. I know Raider fans want to win badly, Chaz, and they want to be there, but it's the way it is. And we're going to delve into that. Just a quick reminder, coming up after the next break, our senior NFL columnist at silverandblacktoday.com, Moe Moton. You can also read him on Bleacher Report. Of course, Mo is a fan favorite amongst Raider Nation, at least with most, because he tells it like it is.
Yeah, Mo's great.
And so sometimes people don't like to hear it like it is. They want to hear it how they want it.
Yeah.
But Mo's not that way. Okay, Chaz, so let's talk about this game a little bit. And let's start with kind of the offense, right? Because one of the things that I've kind of been talking to people about is that this game, I don't think, was lost just because of the defense. I know it's going to drive people nuts, and they're going to call me an idiot because the defense couldn't make big stops. And that's true. I'm not in any way absolving the defense of what happened.
Right.
But at the same time, Chaz, the offense, they did enough. They again, 3 times in the second half. They got the ball 3 times. They scored twice. They didn't score the third time.
Right.
Houston had it 3 times. They scored on 3, and then the 4th time they got it, ran out the clock.
Yeah. We can't count that one, but, I'll give it 60-40 to the defense because really the defense didn't stop at all. And it just, that last drive of the game where they basically kind of did the V formation, but there was a 10-yard run by Carlos Hyde. There was another, Fells had a one-handed spectacular catch that pretty much cinched the game. So you put it on the defense a little bit more than the offense, but the offense could have gone down, taken that last drive, scored, won the game, good night.
Right. And that's the thing, too. I mean, you look at it, and again, you're right. The defense, 60-40, I think that's a pretty good mix.
Yep.
But if you look at it here, this was a closely matched game. Total net yards, 378 Raiders, 388 Texans, right?
Yeah.
Average yards per gain, the Raiders actually were almost 2 yards higher at 7.1. And then if you look at rushing, very similar numbers. Passing, very similar numbers. In fact, Derek Carr had a great night, great day. He had 285 yards passing to 279 for the young stud Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, but see, the thing that's going to the thing that's biggest glaring stat is the first downs, right? The Texans 29 first down to the Raiders 15 first downs. And then you got to go with the penalties. Raiders 100 yards in penalties to the Texans 50 yards in penalties. But 5 of those Raider penalties gave the Texans a first down. And, we didn't get any first downs off of their penalties. So time of possession, it was in the Texans' favor, but that one really wasn't as bad as I thought maybe the first downs, because we can't stop them. We can't get the Texans off the field. And that's basically...
But that's the problem. I mean, 11 minutes more they held the ball.
Yeah.
Right? To me, that in the second half especially, because if you look at the drives for Houston... you're talking here 8 minutes, 10.5 minutes,
right,
and 4 minutes versus the Raiders, who in the second half had it for 8 minutes. So they had one good long drive of their own, which they did get a touchdown, 4 minutes and 4 minutes. So again, sometimes these things like time of possession, when your defense isn't great, when you're thin at linebacker, when you're thin at defensive back, you got to try to get them off the field as fast as you can. And get your offense and have your offense have long sustained drive. So the offense, you can't blame them. You could blame the defense more, to your point. I just think, though, that you look at it all together, and that's what happens. That's how you lose. It's a team game.
It's a team game. It's a team effort. If you win, it's a team win. If you lose, it's a team lose. And, we went back and forth. We were talking about the game-defining plays, and it seemed like in the fourth quarter, every other play was a game-defining play. And, you mentioned the questionable penalties. There was missed tackles. There was a missed fumble recovery. The Raiders had their hands on the ball. They couldn't get in. Another questionable fumble by Hobson. There was a questionable first down spot. There was just, and you saw Gruden wanted to throw the challenge flag, but then he's trying to maybe hold on to his timeouts. There was just so many things that were right on the board, right on the cusp, like we said earlier. Just the ball bounced one way or the other. It was such a close game. So many close things that could have happened and gone either way.
That's true, but at the same time, I mean, I look at it this way. The offense did great. They weren't super fantastic, and I'll say it that way because here's the deal. Derek Carr played well. I don't think he can play any better. I mean, I don't. People want to complain about Derek Carr. I don't think he can play better in that game. Here's the thing, though. No sacks again. He was not sacked.
Right.
He had plenty of time to throw, and so those drops hurt them. The penalties hurt them. And so when you look at that all together, coupled with that thin defense and their inability to stop Deshaun Watson, you said it on the Sunday show. You said, look, they have to contain him.
Right.
And on that play where they scored the game-winning touchdown, they should have had a sack. Arden Key actually complained, saying that he felt...
He thought he was in the grasp.
Well, not only did he think he was in the grasp, but he was afraid to fall on him because of the new rules. And I know a lot of fans have been complaining about that all year.
Because Max Crosby had just gotten that penalty
Correct.
a few plays before that, so then that's in Arden Key's back of his mind. So it's exactly right. He didn't want to go for it and whip him down, and then there's a penalty.
Yeah, and this is clip number 11, Mark. Gruden talked about this because Arden Key he was open about it, saying, look, I should have had him, but at the same time I was concerned I was going to fall on him. Here's Gruden about that play.
Right.
Well, the pocket passer, obviously you can't sling them to the ground. You can't put your weight on them forcefully and plant them into the ground. That's something everybody coaches. But when you play a guy like Watson or Mahomes, a guy that's all over the place, you just have to do everything you can to possibly get him down, period. And I just walked away from the tape looking at Watson. He's something else now. He carried it 10 times. He scrambled another 10 or 12 times to throw the football. To answer your question, we do try to enforce as much etiquette as we can, within the rules. But you also got to be relentless. in your pursuit of the quarterbacks, especially when they're able to extend plays like Watson is.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about. That call against Crosby was questionable, right? I mean, he hit him, but he held up. But it just, the optics of it,
they're going to call it. They're just going to call it, especially on the lower body. And here's the thing, Chaz. And by the way, you call in. Tell us what you think. 702-457-1140. 702-457-1140. Here's the thing, though. So Gruden called it etiquette. That, to me, that's a Gruden shot at the rule,
I know, right?
Which is totally fine. And I agree with him. I mean, it's tough because a lot of people complain, look, it's flag football out there. It's no longer tackle football. The intent of the rule is to protect the quarterback, which I totally favor,
right.
But it gets to be a little ridiculous, Chaz, and I think we've reached that point.
I'm with you 100%, but we've got to do everything. We've got to play within the rules, and that just happens. I want to disagree with you on that Carr. You think Carr did everything he could. I saw a couple of throws at the end of the game that, we talked about when he checked that audible, and then he threw it short. He tried to get another one in there to Waller. And it was a tough pass. If we would have thrown a little higher, maybe Waller would have got it, but he was still 2 yards short of the first down marker. And then there was another play. Everybody's kind of pointing towards the Richie Incognito holding penalty as kind of the turning point of the game. But the play before that, Carr throws a deep ball to Tyrell Williams, and Tyrell Williams has got a step. Now, Tyrell turned around. He made a great adjustment on the ball. And like I said, he did kind of a David Tyree, but he couldn't haul it in. But if Carr just throws that thing out in front of him, now it's first down in the red zone. And they're looking good. So I do put a little bit of it on Carr. I know his numbers looked good. Right off the bat, he didn't look so great trying to force it into Waller. There was a couple of missed passes late that would have sealed the game for the Raiders.
All right, we have a member of Raider Nation on the phone. What's your name? What do you want to talk about?
Hey, can you guys hear me? How you doing?
Yep, good, man. We can hear you. Thanks for calling Silver and Black tonight.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say thanks for doing another show. I don't know how many other people appreciate it, but
yeah.
I've been listening to you guys for a while, and you guys have some good insight, and maybe talk some people off the ledge, or you always have a more level-headed. Minus the third guy, I can't even remember his name. No, I'm just kidding.
Kelly, Kelly's here on Sundays. Unfortunately, he's got business stuff on Tuesday, so he can't join us.
I know. I'm just taking shots at him. He's not there.
He would appreciate that. He would.
Yep.
Oh, I know he would. All right, so. Anyways, yeah, I want to talk about the game and just kind of my overall perspective on the Raiders this year.
Let's hear it.
The first,
we got it.
Didn't play up to par, and what's that?
Oh no, your cell broke up there for a second.
Oh, okay. When we played the Vikings and the Chiefs, I don't think Carr played up to par, and I don't think the Raiders are playing very good, but. I think we're seeing, especially with these young guys, some progression that I think there is a lot of positives that we can take away. I rewatched the game. I usually don't rewatch games, but I did rewatch the Texans game just because I wanted to see kind of where, if there's one thing we could pin it on. And I really think that game we had was the closest game we've had to 4 quarters of football. There was, I'd say, maybe 2 to 4 throws. Maybe Carr could have thrown better, and there were some wide receivers, obviously, missed a few catches and whatnot, but really the main thing really came down to maybe 3 or 4 pivotal plays, or whether it was a ref call or getting a field goal to a touchdown that really made the difference in the game. But we're competing, and they had a lot of injuries, so maybe we should have produced a little bit more with all the injuries they had to take advantage of that. But the one thing I will say is that really when I was evaluating the team and looking at the game again, I think it's really when it's 3 and 4 wide receiver sets, which obviously a lot of teams do 3 wide receiver sets. But it seems to me when other teams we face stack us up with 4 wide receivers, we just don't have the depth or the talent to compete with that, because our linebackers, I think, are good at stopping the run, but they're questionable on certain passing downs.
Oh, no doubt.
And so if they get that corrected. And even Marshall coming in, I think Marshall, if he's healthy, I think he's one of those guys that can potentially cover tight ends and some receivers, not all receivers, but, I think that could be something to help us. But
yep. Well, and I think it's a great
chime in on.
Oh yeah, no, I think
ahead,
I was going to say, I think, and thanks for your call. I think that you're absolutely right. Being positive about it. I saw a lot of fans today with the trade deadline talking about how the Raiders had to go get a receiver, they had to go get a linebacker. And to me, a fan like this who's a little more patient, who understands, and I understand, listen, the last 18 years have been hell for Raider fans. I get it. I'm not excusing that. I'm not saying that you're wrong to want to win now, but it's not going to. The current regime has been there for a year and a half.
Yeah.
They're building it the right way. To go and trade draft capital now for somebody who might be there just for the rest of the year when you're not even close to being a championship caliber club, to me didn't make sense. So it's nice to hear from fans who understand that they're building and that there is some positive happening, Chaz.
Yeah, no, I know it's frustrating to Raider fans that they keep hearing that the team is focused on the process of getting better, and they are getting better. It's just not translating into wins just yet. But, the caller was right. The depth and the talent on the defense, that's kind of coming into question. I know Paul Gunther's kind of getting the sights set on him a little bit now. Is it Paul Gunther? I don't know if
everybody wants to find escape. Anytime the Raiders don't win or any NFL team doesn't win,
right?
Everybody wants to find someone to blame. But in this case, you don't have the personnel yet.
It's the depth and the talent. The caller's
absolutely
right. Yeah,
the caller is absolutely right. And thanks for the call. You can call in 702-457-1140. That's our new phone number, by the way, and it's so much easier to remember. 702-457-1140 if you want to call in and talk about it. So he even talked
about the defining moments of the game, There's how many different things can you point to as a defining moment of that game? It was just a back and forth, hard-fought battle, and it just came down to who executed at the end.
That's right. All right, well, man, we're through that. Great call. Appreciate you guys calling in and being part of our first edition of Silver and Black Tonight. We're going to step aside for a moment. When we come back, Moe Moton, our senior NFL columnist and contributor here on CBS Sports Radio 1140, will join us. You're listening to the Silver and Black Tonight on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Raider Nation rallies with us.
The mob is restless after 2 straight losses.
Get that 8th win. You might win one or slip. Let's get one here. Make yourself 9-7 or something like that. The possibility of getting in a wild card. Who knows?
Welcome back. Las Vegas is only all Raiders talk show, Silver and Black today.
The Oakland Raiders select Josh Jacobs, running back.
Knock on wood if you're with me.
Your Las Vegas home for complete Raiders and NFL coverage. CBS Sports Radio 1140. The Playmakers are coming. Stay tuned to CBS Sports Radio 1140. From Allen to Zog and all the Davises, Jacksons, and Woodsons in between, we've got your Raiders covered. This is Silver and Black Tonight on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
All right, welcome back to the Silver and Black Tonight here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Working hard to get Moe Moton on the phone. We're having a phone issue here in the studio unrelated to Mo himself. It's actually on our end, and we're working diligently to fix that. So stay with us, and we'll get Mo on the air as soon as we can. All right, Chaz, we were talking about different moments in the game and some of those key moments. And one, when we were talking after the game Sunday, you mentioned the fumble, the Houston fumble that the Raiders were not able to come up with. Talk about that situation and when it happened, because it could have been very big for the Raiders because of the timing.
Yeah, no, Carl Joseph kind of popped the ball out of Carlos Hyde there, and they were in the scrum under the pile, and Joseph had his hand on the ball, and then you saw Max Crosby kind of go for it too at the end, but Carlos Hyde was able to rope it back in, and you saw Max kind of upset that he didn't get it. But, there were so many defining moments. You and I went back and forth. We talked about it after, like, what was the defining moment of the game? There were so many. Like, last week in Green Bay, it was pretty obvious. The Carr fumble into the end zone was the defining moment. Last night, I don't know who watched the Monday Night Football game, but when the Miami Dolphins blitzed on 3rd and 20 and the Steelers got a 45-yard touchdown out of it just before the half, it was just, you could tell that was the defining moment. And of course, they went on to outscore them 17-0 in the second half and win the game. But
to me, no. But I was going to say, Chaz, I you're right. I mean, there's so many moments in a game, especially like this one, where where it goes back and forth. Well, I shouldn't say it goes back and forth. The Raiders had the lead throughout the game, and that's actually happened a couple times this year where the Raiders are leading and then give it up late, right?
Right.
And especially in the second half. If you look at the Raiders' third quarter scoring, they've been outscored like 52-17.
Right.
It's not even close. So clearly, coming out of halftime, the Raiders have a problem get going.
Yeah.
They don't have a problem at the beginning of the game.
No, they start off great, but there's some, maybe the other team's making a great second half adjustment. I guess really Watson's eye-popping play when he escaped the grasp of Arden Key, but he kept one eye down the field and threw the touchdown pass. Did you get a kick out of that one?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I gotcha.
I think that, obviously was the biggest play of the game. Arden Key could have had that sack, but he maybe let up a little bit. And so many things that happened after that. There's really no way to just put your finger on one particular thing.
No, there's not. But you look at that defense, and let's talk a little bit about the defense because it has been the point of conversation and has the ire up for Raider fans because if you make one stop, right? But you can say that about any defense in any game in a losing effort because if you make one more stop than the other team, you're going to win, right?
Right.
And in this case, the Raiders have trouble. They're having depth issues, and in the NFL, depth is everything. Okay, and so if you don't have depth when a guy goes down, when a guy gets suspended for the rest of the season at linebacker for hits,
right?
Guess what happens? You're screwed. And so with the Raiders in this particular case at linebacker, they are beyond thin. So they signed Brandon Marshall tonight. And we'll see if he can come off that knee injury. They cut him in the preseason or after the preseason because they, from what we hear, they didn't think he was ready to go. Has he been working out? Will he come in and make a difference? I don't know. Hopefully he will.
It's concerning because no other team picked him up either.
Exactly.
But he does know the system. He was there for the whole preseason, so that's one positive. And hopefully he's had another month to heal. And he's been working out on his own, so he should come back and be able to contribute. How much, we'll wait and have to see that. But, like the caller said, when you talk about somebody going down and it's kind of that next man up mentality, but when you don't have the depth, it's hard to bring a next man up. And the talent level, we're still leaning on a lot of first and second year guys. So we got a lot of young guys out there. So they do have talent, but it's just a matter of getting the reps, getting used to the system and learning, the NFL, the speed of the NFL.
Well, and I think, too, that the defensive front, too, I mean, a lot of people calling out Clelin Ferrell because saying he's not playing well enough.
Right.
Listen, I get it. When you go that high in the draft, you expect, and fans' expectations of where Ferrell is at this point in the season aren't there. But let's face it, that's the way the drafts sometimes work. Yeah, you don't want to miss on your top guy. I was conversing with somebody on Twitter today, and they were telling me, boy, I'm fine with trading draft picks away because this squad hasn't been able to convert on draft picks. So I disagree. You have Josh Jacobs. You have Jonathan Abram, who unfortunately was injured. You have Trayvon Mullen, who's now starting.
I think the biggest example
Max
of that
Crosby.
is Colton Miller.
Colton
Everybody wanted to get rid of Colton Miller last
right,
year. And now look at him this year. He's looking like a Pro Bowl season. And back to, Clelin Ferrell, he brings stability. He contains the pocket, which allows, a high-energy guy like Max Crosby to get off after the quarterback. And you see his discipline. And that play where he stayed in his assignment and he batted that pass down, that was a third down play that got him off the field. And was he drafted a little too high? Maybe. Would he have still been there in the 20s? Probably not. So, football's a team sport, and he's a team player, and that's one of the things they liked, his high character.
No, and I agree. And I think that, if you look at what happened with Houston on Sunday, that offense and them running, in essence, the same play over and over again. I mean, they were very repetitive. And as Gruden said, they're unscripted, but how the quarterback plays.
Right.
And I just simply chalk that up to just not having the talent level yet.
Nope.
Look, they have talent up front. It's maturing. It's getting better.
Yep.
Do they have enough? No. Could they use another defensive end? Yes. Could they have used Josh Allen? Yes, I think so. I wanted them to take Josh Allen. But nonetheless, they need help at linebacker. To me, that's a focus for the draft next year. But you have holes everywhere still. That's why when people said coming into this year, this team's going to win 8 or 9 games or 10 games, I was completely, no, you're not looking at the roster. That's great that you're a positive thinking fan. I got no problem with that.
Right.
At the same time, you have holes. They cannot be filled easily. And so that's where they're at. They are, in my view, as Vegas put them, a 6-win team. They're already halfway there.
Right.
Can they win 3 more games? Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's the classic argument against draft picks and already having an established player. And we kind of saw, Minkah Fitzpatrick last night. and he had a big game, and you think to yourself, boy, we could have traded, what for him? And, you start getting these established players. It's going to be the classic argument, back and forth, whichever way you fall on the deal. Do you want to get a guy that you can draft and, kind of bring him in your system? He's kind of your guy type of player. Or do you want to go out and get an established guy and, maybe fast forward this rebuilding project?
Yeah, no, that's true. And to me, and by the way, we're still having a phone outage in our area here, so we're not able to get to Moe Moton. We're going to work on it, but it looks like we might have to just welcome him on the show Sunday. So unfortunately, sorry for that, and we apologize to Mo and to all of you for the phone issues that we're having here, but plenty of Raider football to talk about. So guys, I think that one of those things that we'll talk about when we come back is, where do the Raiders go from here? What can they learn from this? What do they need to do as they face the Lions coming up on Sunday? But also looking back a little bit too, and finding other positives, because that's what we want to do too. We've talked about the shortcomings, but we want to talk about the positives. We're going to step aside after the break. We'll be back to talk more Raider football with you here on the Silver and Black Tonight. Thanks. Don't go anywhere.
Unfiltered hockey talk for Golden Knights fans.
Very happy that they were able to make that decision and allow Oscar Dance to at least just get some more time, like you said, get that experience, work himself out of a game that he isn't playing poorly in, but he's not making a ton of big saves either.
This is the kind of game where you're just like, throw out the game tape. That
move
sucked.
on. Move
that
on.
Sucked. We want to forget about this forever.
Join us for the Nightcap with Lindsey Brown, Monday nights at 6 on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Hey, Chuck, I know there are a lot of scams with online payday loans. What should people watch out for?
So many of these websites might look totally legit, but they're far from it. And the borrower needs to be very careful to make sure they're dealing with a lender that's licensed right here in Nevada, like Dollar Loan Center.
How do they get away with that?
It's normally the online companies that are based out of the country in places like Costa Rica or hiding on tribal land to skirt state lending laws. And others are just lead generators who will just bombard you with calls, texts, and emails. Just be careful and do your research.
That was Chuck, founder of Dollar Loan Center, with some very sound advice about online loan scams. We have over 50 local and licensed locations, and our friendly Dollar Loan Center staff are ready to help while keeping your information safe. Stop by or check us out online at don'tbebroke.com for all the details.
Licensed by Nevada Financial Institutions Division. Customer must meet the normal loan qualifications. To review loan qualifications, visit us at don'tbebroke.com. Certain limitations may apply. Loans are subject to approval.
Opioid overdoses will affect many lives this year. It could happen to a friend, a sibling, a grandmother, or a young father, like Grant Denton, who overdosed September 12, 2012, at age 34.
I did overdose on opioids, and it nearly ended my life. Thanks to someone carrying naloxone, my life was saved.
Naloxone is a simple nose spray that reverses the effects of an opioid overdose. Naloxone should only be used in an emergency. Call 911 and seek medical treatment immediately after administering naloxone. If you suspect someone is experiencing an opioid overdose, naloxone can help you save their life. Care enough. Carry naloxone. To learn more, visit nvopioidresponse.org. This message funded by a grant through the Nevada Department of Health and Human Services, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
CBS Sports Radio. Raider Nation rallies with us. This is Silver and Black Tonight on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Welcome back to CBS Sports Radio 1140 and our inaugural issue edition of Silver and Black Tonight. Of course, we have Silver and Black today, Sundays 8 to 10 a.m. as well. You can stream it. We are streaming live on video, YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, via Twitter as well. So you can watch us there as well. Lots of folks there. Great conversation happening as well. Guess what? We got some phoneage.
Yes.
We got some phoneage. So we are now going to bring in quickly, since we're getting towards the end of the show, our own senior NFL columnist, also a contributor at Bleacher Report, Mr. Moe Moton. Mo, how are you tonight, man?
I'm doing good. The powers that be tried to sabotage me.
That's right.
You're stronger than the powers that be, Mo.
You don't know any Ukrainians, do you? No. Okay. All right, Mo. So we have you here now. So let's talk about, you heard Chaz and I talking about the Raiders and the Texans. And I know I was watching you on Twitter the last 24 hours, and you talking about the Raiders' defense and their need for defense. They went out and signed Brandon Marshall today. But I keep trying to tell fans there was no trade that was going to help them today get to the point where their defense was going to be good enough to change the fortunes of this team. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that to a certain extent. I would agree with your sentiment that one player wasn't going to change them from a fringe or a 500 team to, a division winner. It just doesn't happen that way. But I will say one of the suggestions I had in one of my articles on Silver and Black today was if you were going to go after one player, I would have gone after a linebacker for maybe a third or fourth round pick. Yeah. I mean, hey, the Raiders have 3 third-rounders. You can give up one for maybe a Preston Brown if the Bengals were willing to move on from him. I mean, they haven't won a game yet. They're benching Andy Dalton. It's clear they're preparing for 2020. So, hey, third or fourth round pick for Preston Brown to shore up your linebacker position, to me, would have been an ideal deal for them to make for the deadline.
Yeah, I feel like, Sunday's game, maybe win or loss, depended on if they were going to make a move in the trade deadline. Maybe if they would have won that game, they probably would have went out and made a trade. But since they lost, just kind of reel it back in and say, all right, we're still in rebuild mode.
Mo, was there indication that they could have gotten him for that compensation?
No indication that he was on the block. I know a couple of Browns Bengals fans, and they say that the organization doesn't really make trades. This is why I never felt like the Reds had a chance at A.J. Green. I know a lot of fans wanted A.J. Green, big name, but I never felt that they had a legitimate chance to get him. But a guy like Preston Brown, who was hurt last year but played well, and again, that defense isn't playing well. It's just as bad as the Raiders' defense at this point.
Yep.
I felt like with 3 years still left on his deal, he's not a 1-year rental. He still has 3 years left, so It's not like you're just getting him for 1 year. Could have had him for 3 years, and he could have solidified the middle of your defense. I felt like the Raiders had at least tried. I don't know if they did or not, but I felt like they should have at least tried to get him from the Bengals.
Now, Mo, we've all heard Raider fans talk since Sunday about the linebackers, right? And because and I'm glad that Coach Gruden cleared up some misconceptions. There were people complaining about linebackers covering Hopkins one-on-one, which wasn't happening. It was a zone defense.
Right.
But when you look at that linebacker core, there's no question, just like you said, they need help there. But they need help other places on the defense. For you, what other glaring area did you see in that game that the Raiders really need to address, not only the rest of the season by playing better, but also in the offseason when they go into acquisition mode?
I feel like they need to address the safety spot. I know people like Carl Joseph. He had a situation where he couldn't recover a fumble, which I thought was. I'm not in that situation, but I just he was so close to recovering that fumble.
Oh, man.
And they declined his 5th-year option too, so he's probably out of the door unless he's spectacular in the second half of the season. But LaMarcus Joyner, I feel he's out of position. If they're going to keep him in the nickel spot, they need a free safety, a guy who can erase drives on the back end with an interception. I believe the Raiders have 3 interceptions on the season. They're going to need a free safety if they're going to keep LaMarcus Joyner in the nickel. Now, if they're going to play him as a safety, then I would go out and maybe get a veteran nickel because I'm not a big Nevin Lawson guy. I know he's probably on a 1-year deal, probably going to be out of the door, but you got a young group there. So I want a proven corner, a proven guy back there just in case your rookies, your young players don't develop.
So is it Gunther's system that's ineffective or outdated, or is it just a matter of injuries, talent level, youth, and inexperience?
I know the pitchforks were out for Gunther last Sunday.
Yep.
And my thing is, I don't know if you remember this, but I asked Twitter 2 weeks ago, who is the best player on the Raiders defense? And I got 4 or 5 different answers,
right.
From rookies to guys who just got there. And if that's the response to who you say is the best defensive player in that group, then obviously there's a talent issue there. And I think those guys, as you said, Farrell, Key, almost Arden Key, I know Colton almost Arden Key, those guys need to develop. Max Crosby has shown flashes, but he's not there yet. And I don't think this defense, who is your Pro Bowl, all-pro player who's going to close the game for you like Khalil Mack used to do?
Right.
Raiders don't have that.
Nobody.
So until you have that, I don't think you can fully judge Gunther yet.
Nobody. Mo, listen, we had to cut it short, obviously, because we went into the final part of the show here. But we'll have you again, I know, on Sunday and on another one of the Tonight shows as well. So Moe Moton, senior NFL columnist, Silver and Black today. And also you can read him at Bleacher Report. Check him out at Moe, Moemoton. Mo, thanks, man. Have a great night out there in Brooklyn.
Thanks, Mo.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Moe Moton, always fun, always a great guy to have on. So Agree with him. And Chaz, we are at the end of our first. I know we're just getting started too. Silver and Black tonight again. Tuesdays from 6 to 7 p.m. here. Join us this Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. on same bat channel, same bat time, 8 to 10 Sundays for Silver and Black today. For Chaz Osborne, I am Scott Branson. For our producer and engineer Mark Bonilla, this has been the Silver and Black tonight. I'm Scott Branson. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks, everybody.